that down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Well, Sinners opened. We reviewed it last week. We loved it. It made $45 million on its opening weekend, higher than the studio's projections, lower than the upper end of where they thought it would be, but a huge opening weekend for an R-rated vampire film at $45 million. Congrats to them. But they achieved something even more rare. Did you know that in the history of CinemaScore, for those of you guys who don't know, CinemaScore is very unique in the sense that they actually interview people as they come out of the movie theater, and they actually get real people's real instant reactions to films as they're coming out of the movie theater. That's what makes CinemaScore unique. Did you know there has never been a horror film? I didn't know this.
Not even for Trolls 2?
Not even for Trolls 2 or Leprechaun in Space. Have we ever had a horror movie get an A CinemaScore? It's never happened in history.
Wow.
Until now. Deadline reports Sinners lands the first A CinemaScore ever for a horror film. They wrote this: Warner Brothers' Sinners is in rare air, becoming the first horror movie ever to earn an A CinemaScore from audiences in the exit poll organization's 47-year existence. Typically, CinemaScore audiences are harder on horror films. If you get anything in the B- range, that's amazing. The first A Quiet Place earned a B+. If you're a C, you're even safe. Outside of that anomaly, A- grades went to Five Nights at Freddy's, Get Out, The Lost Boys, still my favorite vampire movie of all time, The Conjuring 2, A Quiet Place 2, Child's Play 2. However, no other film but Ryan Coogler's Sinners has notched an A. This is, I think, one of these little stories that is going to go past a lot of people's radars. But I am always fascinated when something happens in the world of movies that has literally never happened before. And I don't think that should be undersold. First of all, Ryan Coogler made... Man, you can't even just instantly say his best film. This is the guy who made Fruitvale Station and Creed and Black Panther. But he made a masterpiece of a film. Went to go see it again yesterday. Every bit as effective the second time around as it is the first, at least according to Anne. It is just a remarkable movie that works. Because, you know, I often say, if you're making a comedy, you can get away with doing a lot of things in filmmaking wrong. But as long as you make people laugh, the comedy still works. In horror, it's the same. You can do almost everything else badly. But if you give great creeps and great scares and great thrills, everything else gets forgiven. Ryan Coogler managed to make a world-class movie before vampires are ever even introduced. Like we were talking during our review that in the first 30 minutes, the movie's so good, it made me forget that vampires were coming. It made me forget. The movie's just so good. I was so enthralled with the characters and enthralled with the story and enthralled with the setting and enthralled with the music. And it's just, he made a beautiful, amazing film, and then vampires show up. And then it just kicks it up a notch and gets even better. So again, I never even realized that no horror film had ever gotten an A CinemaScore. I think it's appropriate that Ryan Coogler's Sinners is the movie that did it. So good on them. Rob, you heard about this. How appropriate? Are you surprised? Not surprised? What do you think about this?
Well, I've been kind of surprised over the weekend of the discourse that's been surrounding this movie. And one of the things, as you pointed out, there's a lot going on in this film. You know, there's a lot of people like talking about it just as a vampire movie, which I'm like, this movie is really about, to me, it's about culture, and it's about, I mean, whether it's you're talking about music, whether you're talking about black culture in the 30s, whether you're talking about the Chinese immigrant experience. I read a really interesting article about how, and Ruth Carter was talking about how in the South, in Mississippi, a lot of Chinese immigrants had come there, and a lot of like Chinese food and Chinese culture, and they brought their brand of Christianity with them. And there's so much going on in this movie that I think to reduce it down to one thing, and the musical component, the spiritual component, the idea of a group of people wanting to open and control their own business. I mean, you have Smoke and Stack leaving the Capone era Chicago, where they had no agency. They were probably, under everybody's thumb, coming back to Mississippi and starting their own business. And what does that all mean? It's all there. And it's such an interesting look at so many different things that, like you said, I was so fascinated by everything going on in the movie before Vampire. If vampires never showed up, and it was about
It's
these
still
two
a
guys
great movie.
start a juke joint, and it was like a day in the life of these two dudes, I would have been like, what an interesting film. What an interesting film this is. And the fact that there's so much going on, like even there's people on Twitter that are like, this is the most amazing movie. What they're feeling is the authorship. And I think the fact that we're getting a horror film that is resonating, it resonates on so many levels before it becomes a horror movie. So I think people are it's encouraging to see that it got an A CinemaScore, because people realize this is a full meal. They're not just getting some monster, monsters come to the juke joint. I mean, I love From Dusk Till Dawn, but I think that this movie has a lot more going on than From Dusk Till Dawn did. Not to say that From Dusk Till Dawn isn't a hell of a fun time at the movies, because it is. But it was one thing that becomes another thing. This movie is about 20 different things all rolled into one. And even the idea of the vampires, they're another disenfranchised group as well. And I just, I've seen this movie 3 times now, and I find it compelling and fascinating on so many levels.
You know what? I love in
That's
vampire
great.
movies when they introduce something that really hasn't been there before. And at the risk, I'm going to say a philosophical thing here connected to the movie about one of the characters. So forgive me if this comes across as a minor spoiler, but I'm just giving you a heads up. But the main antagonist of the film, the big bad vampire, his motivation, I've never seen this. He wants to spread peace and love.
Yes, he does.
I mean, it's just like, I've never seen that kind of really thing in a movie, particularly in a vampire movie before. And as a result, the thing gets an A CinemaScore. Chris, again, were you surprised, or did you already know that like no horror film had ever gotten an A CinemaScore? And what do you think about the fact that Sinners is the movie to do it?
Well, as the resident horror expert on this show, I was blown away. Well, I feel like this makes sense that this is the one to do it because of everyone talking about, I don't even know how to classify this film.
Right.
This just transcends genre. This just has so many things to say. I think that's excellent that they got this score. And Ryan Coogler, I mean, is just remarkable. How many films, too, can say that they were inspired by Puss in Boots?
I
and
watched
have
that video this weekend. That was
I love it so much. I love how much he loves that movie. I think it's great. You
and
can't
the
see
guy
it.
interviewing him goes, the red eye.
Yeah. Like, yes. I think it's wonderful. I think the other thing here that is very important to note too is you can make an incredible film. You can make something that is wonderful, but if people don't go see it, it's just kind of like shouting into the void, right? And this was another example of Warner Brothers doing really excellent marketing. They did digital pushes based on zip codes to get people to go out further. They really pushed this movie well. And I think this is something they need to do moving forward so they can continue to see numbers like this. Because I think the Deadline article goes on to say this is the first time in a decade they have 2 films that are grossing over 40 mil or something at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Or something interesting like that. It's the 8th time they've dominated the Easter box office on the weekend. This is a really big win for them overall as well, just not only critically, but financially. And they needed both.
Oh yeah.
So-
Especially coming off of Minecraft, this is this is a good week to be Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since we've been able to say that.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Sinners becomes the first horror film. And as Rob pointed out, it is much more than just that, but it becomes the first genre horror film to ever score an A CinemaScore, which is wild to me that none has ever had them before. And this is the film to do it. And I think it's appropriate that this is the film to do it. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.